Hello. Hello, everybody. It is Bowie. I am finally back. It's been like a week or so since I have streamed. I kind of need the break and everything, but now I am here. I am back. I feel so much better about everything. Oh, hello, Moon. Welcome to stream. I hope you're doing well. Yeah, I know it's been getting cold lately for a lot of people, and I hope you're bundling up and staying warm and whatnot. Because trust me, yeah, no, definitely gonna need it. Day's going very well. Very well, that's good. What have you been doing today, if I may ask? Because I am a curious little bean, and I am going to stall as long as I can before story time begins. You know, I'm just gonna let people sort of gather and flock and do whatever they do, you know. But I hope it's been exciting. I hope you've done interesting things or been productive. Oh yeah, as you can tell, I am fidgeting in my hands with some dice right now. Usual work stuff. Boss bought her new brought her new puppy dog. Oh, that's awesome though. I was just about to ask what kind of puppy, but if it's a German Shepherd puppy, that means that little puppy was probably full of energy. And maybe in the middle of training. So something tells me that was a wily, very wily dog. But, you know, you could always correct me. Please correct me. I don't know your story. But no, that sounds awesome. Because honestly, I love puppies. I love puppies so much. I love all dogs. 12 weeks old. She's actually rather docile. Oh. So like I'm gonna guess and say the puppy wasn't used to being around a lot of people and was like kind of shy and timid, or were they just well behaved? I mean, either way it's fine, right? It's all good. And the whatnot. Oh, shoot! You know what? I forgot to do something. Give me just a moment. Maybe she didn't seem to care when customers come in. Okay, that's good. So they started training the puppy early then. That is fantastic to hear. Oh no, I'm still gonna be here, but I just forgot to, you know, do some things in the background. You know, background stuff. It's been a week since I've streamed. You know, it's gonna be a little. It's gonna be a little. What's the word? Scuffed? It's gonna be scuffed. I haven't streamed in a week due to, well, reasons. But I just needed to make sure some things are working properly in the background. And stuff to see if I have. Oh. Okay, I do have that stuff. Okay. Is this working as intended? Oh. Oh. Okay. This makes sense. Got it. Alright, everything should be good then. Everything should be bueno and whatnot. But yeah. Yeah, no, how have... For those of you who are listening, for those of you who want to speak up, how have your past week been? I know it's like the week, like at least for the U.S. people, this is the week of Thanksgiving for a lot of U.S. viewers and everything. And you know, you may have a bunch of plans, or you may have been planning since last week. I know that there's been a lot of events kind of happening for people. At least in my life, there's been a lot of events. It's been interesting, but I want to hear from your own perspective how it's been going, what you've been doing. go on from there, you know, that sort of thing. If any little songbird wants to talk, but that's okay, because otherwise I'm going to keep talking. And speaking of talking, I'm going to do more things. Do not worry. I am planning a family dinner with my dad's side. Cousin has COVID. Oh no. Yeah, no. I've seen actually I've seen a rather high resurgence of COVID. I mean, it's never technically gone away, right? But a lot more people I know have been catching it and whatnot, which has been kind of concerning. Oh yeah, no. By the way, I'm going to do a. Hold on, the music's gonna stop here. And now I have a question for y'all. If this music is too loud, please say something. Please say something right now. I want to get audio and stuff controlled right at the moment. So, I'm not even sure if y'all can hear it, but if it is too loud, and I'm going to keep talking so that, you know, some volumes can be determined. If it's too loud, please speak up. Yay, nay, perhaps. Moon, I need your help on this one. Please. You can hear the music, but is it loud? Like, compared to my voice, is it loud? Like, our volume's good. That's what I'm trying to get at. That's all I'm trying to determine. I think it's okay. Okay. On that note, we're gonna trim it down a little bit then. You know, just a nice subtle background noise. Just some chill wave music, if that makes sense. You know, this is going to be a chill stream. This is gonna be a very chill stream. Just gonna be a talk. It's gonna be just sort of like one of those streams where you can just have in the background. At any time, I can also, you know, answer any questions in chat and whatnot. But, you know. Oh yeah, Moon. Yes, you were first. Easily, you were first. Congrats on redeeming it. Moon was first. I think that was actually your first as well. I think it was. Yeah, no. A lot of people forget I have that first thing. I should probably think about potentially what's the word? Advertising it a bit more? Advertising a bit more. Yeah. Promoting it. But yeah, congrats on getting first. You did it. You're the best. You're the best at this. Maybe not the best at it, but you know. I'm just trying to give you praises. However, I believe it's time for story time. I think I've stalled long enough. I think it's time for story time, right? And we're about to begin. And in that sense, we are going to move over to the Pigeon Coop. Hello, this is the Pigeon Coop. This is where I'm going to tell you stories. It's a small little thing that I may have put together today. Totally did not plan this morning. But yes, this is gonna be our first little Pigeon Coop story time to tell y'all about what I experienced this past weekend. Oh yes, and there may be a couple of little things going on in the background sometimes. But there is no point for you all to watch. They're just there. People coming in and out. Well, my people coming in and out. You know, they're birds. We fly and stuff like that, you know. But let's stop stalling. So, what was I doing this weekend? I was actually on a little excursion. Um, basically, and those who are kind of close to me know what has been happening. Effectively, I have been prepping for this for like a month or so to go to a LARP. And what a LARP is basically a live action roleplay. So people go out and they will literally roleplay as whatever the LARP is on, as like various different characters. It's a lot of acting, it's a lot of improv. It's definitely a time. And of course I wasn't alone doing this. I actually brought a friend or two with me on this little excursion. I'm going to keep their names out of this just to for the sake of privacy and whatnot. But yeah, no, me and a couple of friends of mine decided to go to this LARP. We planned it and we decided, hey, we're going to go to this thing, and that's what we did this weekend. The LARP itself is known as Dystopia Rising. Now, Dystopia Rising is a post-apocalyptic setting. It is basically, you know, after society fell, a lot of emphasis on survival and strange things and whatnot. So, effectively already it's like we have to basically get prepared, and we're required to bring things as we go and whatnot. Keep in mind, I didn't write a script for this. This is all, this is literally non-scripted. This is just me just berating my experiences. So basically, Friday comes along. And Friday, we basically, me and my buddy, we have to drive out there to this place, hours or so away, to meet up with the LARP crew and everything, and then figure it out from there. So literally both of us that went. Technically, this was my very first kind of experience like this, like an actual LARP, a live action sort of thing. And as any of you know, I am already a role player of some kind in the form of a GM or anything like that. That's nothing new to me. But I've never really done it in like person to this extent before. Literally getting up in costume, making my own props or anything like that. I've never done it to this extent. My buddy has a little bit of experience, but hasn't done like the whole like role playing aspect of it. Has done like they've done like stage fighting and everything like that, and recreations, that sort of thing, but not like the extent that we were going to. So anyways, we get up early, we pack up all of our things, like a bunch of like equipment and everything like that, that we've been working on, you know, our costumes. His costume was very impressive, by the way. I love his stuff. I'm not going to go into detail of it, but it was very thematic, very awesome, very cool. Mine was super simple, but you know, if it hit that homeless man trying to survive sort of vibes. The only thing was, I literally also made my own prop weapon to go with it. Think basically a two-handed sort of canoe oar. That was my inspiration for this, because I was going to be using that as a weapon to help defend myself in this wasteland scenario. You know, something salvaged, something scavenged. That's my thought process about it. We go out there, we take the drive, and we're basically out in the middle of nowhere. This place literally has no reception, no no reception, like no lights for miles. We're at this campground, effectively, and this is nothing new for me. In my early parts of my life, very much into these kind of areas, kind of lived out in more naturist areas. So this was kind of like a nice nostalgic breath of air for me. We get there, we immediately go to like this like large and start meeting with with the crew that's there, because we weren't sure we were in the right place. We couldn't really tell, but we figured it out early. It's like, yeah, we were in the right place. We got to meet a lot of the moderators for this event. Now, Dystopia Rising is basically all over the country, by the way. It's like in several states, so on and so forth. They have these chapters, or so on they call them. Various groups of people that, do their thing, and each individual chapter has their own stories, their own setting, while all the world's interconnected and everything like that. Like, there's overarching plots and whatnot. Everything kind of is localized. And so the one we went to, which I'm not going to say for the sake of not doxing anybody, we went to one of these chapters. And specifically, this chapter was what they called a premiere event. Now, what this entails is that the chapter itself is given a story or some sort of arcing storyline that has been present throughout every single chapter of DR throughout the states. And because of that, so it has some sort of connection and whatnot. Basically, these are the premiere events are the kind of ones that are very, I wouldn't say story driven, but they can be they're the bigger events. They are the much bigger events. So yeah, we get there, we start meeting everybody, and it's like, oh hey, we're gonna meet with everybody, and right off the bat, when we get there, right outside the door to like the main cabin, or not cabin, but like operations center, I get to see these bags of props and weapons and everything like that everybody has. Not everybody, but like what's just used for everything. And I was immediately blown away, because there was tons of them, like literally like handcrafted. Some of them looked beautiful, like authentic, bloody, sort of like old wasteland torn weaponry, while other ones were like, simple props, like, oh hey, beat sticks, like faux beat sticks. And I'll tell you this, as a person who's worked like backstage for like theatrics and everything like that, I always love prop work. I always have a appreciation for it. So I am already excited. Now keep in mind, I don't make my own props, but I'm gonna start actually making my own stuff. Zero, thank you for the hydrate. And yes, I am a nerd. This is why I'm talking about nerd stuff today. Zero, welcome to the stream. Gonna... Okay. Chug. Yep, that's still good. That's still good. But anyways, what was I saying? Prop work. Right.
I always have an appreciation for prop work. And I go in and I see these things, and I see how much craft is worked into them. I'm like, okay, these guys are legit. This is gonna be fun. And, you can pick these things up, and they are light as heck. Like they are, you could easily hit people with them. You wouldn't feel a thing, but they look so good and they're painted so well. Oh, I love that kind of stuff. And while I did actually build a prop for this event, um, it wasn't nearly to like the designs or anything like that of uh these of what I'm seeing so far. But I'm like, okay, so we go in and immediately we get greeted by a lot of the mentors or the moderators, and we get to, I get to meet some of these individuals who actually started making these weapons, and I'm like, hey, here, I'm going to give you my weapon, because actually when you bring your own weapon and everything like that, it's got to be tested for like non-safety and whatnot. And mine actually passed. I was actually really surprised, because apparently that's not that common for a first-time prop maker to bring in a weapon and have it not pass. Or no, to have it fail. It's common for that to have it fail. But apparently mine passed. It was all good. And yeah, so basically we were sent down to actually where we're supposed to do this role play and everything like that. So we get down there, we set up like tents and everything like that, because we're literally camping out there. And by the way, I should mention, for this whole weekend, temperatures were basically hovering around 35 to 25 degrees Fahrenheit. So basically around or below freezing. It wasn't storming or anything like that, but basically it was cold. Up. Yeah, freezing. Up. Up. We got War Striker with the Tobies. Here they come. Here's all the Tobies. Thank you for the Tobies. Thank you, War. I appreciate you. And I hope you're having yourself a good day with everything. So many. Yep, so many. She was, Toby also... Well, no, I'll talk about that later. I'll talk about Toby later. Toby didn't go with us to the thing, so Toby was left at home. But effectively, we go there, we set up our camp. We get there rather early, because we got there around the time that we were allowed to arrive at the site, because we weren't allowed to show up too early because of reasons and rules and regulations from the park, because the event owners don't own the park. They're kind of like renting it out for the event. It was, so they got their own rules to follow. We got to be respectful and whatnot. Yeah, we go in there, and basically we get everything set up, and basically we have hours to kill at this forested area. Like we had, like I'll try to describe it to you as best we can. Like from where our little tent was basically a dirt road, to a dirt road to the back of us, and then beyond that, like a little old-fashioned post office, like an old office with like an overhang, with like a one-room sort of deal. A little bit of ways from that, there was a literal, and I'm not kidding you, a literal box cart, like a train box cart, a caboose to a train, just there. It wasn't a prop one. It was just a real one that has just been stuck there for I don't know how long or so. Kept in to at least some usable condition, not like completely torn apart, but you could tell it's been there for ages. we had a lot of lush environments. We had like a basically, well, we were under some like, not oak trees, but like some pine trees and everything like that. Um, we had a large field, um, and then another sort of like cafeteria area. I'm guessing like, what is the proper word for that? It's like where, um, I guess we can call it cafeteria, but it's like an outside cafeteria thing. Literally, mess hall? Yes, a mess hall. Thank you, Zero. Um, so yeah, it was like an outside mess hall sort of area, and it was by the time we got there, they had already like set up the tables and everything like that. They had put like tarps over that to make it like, you know, make it actually secluded, not like a bunch of just air flowing through it constantly. But you know, that sort of a thing. But no, it was actually very beautiful country. It was, like I said, out in the middle of nowhere, no reception or anything like that. Like, we couldn't use our phones anyway. We weren't allowed to. Besides a select few of us for reasons I won't get into. But yeah, basically we had like no reception out there. We were basically stranded. This was just very natural area. It was awesome. And I loved it and I missed it. Or I missed being in this natural area. But yeah, it's basically like we had like a couple like small little buildings around for people to like go to and everything. We got our bearings and we learned right off the bat, by the way, there was no power at all to majority of these buildings. Well, when I say power, never mind. They had power. They did not have running water because of the freezing temperatures. Which meant, right off the bat, it sucked for us in the sense that every single person there, which was roughly around like 40-ish so people for this event, we had to use latrines for any sort of restroom stuff. Which, if you don't know what a latrine is basically like a hole in the ground. It's a hole in the ground. Kind of authentic experience. Anyways, but we're not gonna keep into that. Yeah, no, we had a shit house. It's a shit house. And you know, when it's nearly freezing temperatures, that's not fun. But we'll get into that. So effectively, we had hours to kill. We went and started meeting with everybody, got our stuff set up, and I got to meet another friend of mine that didn't travel with me in particular, but that came up too, and they are actually an all right individual. I had a lot of fun with them. They seemed very chill. Was worried about them because they didn't bring all that they needed. In other words, they needed food. But guess what? Everyone right off the bat is very helpful. People brought food, we brought food, everything like that. So, and this is something I should tell you about getting into roleplay, to the actual roleplay sections. They emphasize, the Dystopian Rising people emphasize this immensely. Safety and comfort of the individual person comes first above roleplay. This is very important because if you are not feeling it, they are not going to force it on you at all. You are always welcome to opt in and opt out, and this is some parts of the talk that we had with like the moderators and everything like that. You're always able to opt in and opt out of whatever you need to. They don't take anything away from you for, you know, like leaving or whatnot. Well, not leaving, but, you know, basically doing what you need to do for your own personal needs. Um, or what? So okay. There was a setting up. Um, Basically the main area of the role play was the field, the mess hall, the tenting area, the little building with the that we called the mail house, the post office, um, the medical building, and then basically anything beyond that was known as the wasteland. You know, they had signs there. It's like, hey, enter at your own risk, sort of thing. Um, which basically means you go out there, you're not in town anymore, you're no longer safe, that sort of thing. But that's the sort of area we were in. We were in this very wilderness area with that sort of setup. It was nice. However, it had a lot of hills. We were up quite a bit of an elevation. Not as much as some places, but we were up there. But now, I guess it's time to start getting into the meat and gritty of it. Roleplay wise, I decided, as part of the roleplay, you're required to make a character in this setting, right? In Dystopia Rising, basically, majority of you are humanoid, but you aren't like different races. What they're called are strains. Effectively, sometime after the Great War and whatnot in the lore, humanity had, separated and then basically mutated in some way due to radiation and whatnot. So there's a lot of different variations of and strains of humanity. And so, in that sense, each character was their own strain, and so I had to develop one myself. I decided to go as a character named Basco. Like Tobasco, just Basco. Basco is an individual who goes under the strain of Baywalker. And what a Baywalker is effectively this category of strain known as a townie. They effectively, their strain kind of grew up in old cities and old towns and sort of basically survived those sort of things. And when you think Baywalker, you can think of people who, like, these old cities and towns were most likely by watersides, literally, in bays. Um, they tend to be more of the physically, well, not physically stronger, of the townies. If I'm correct on this, and anyone who knows DR in the chat can, of course, correct me. The Baywalkers tend to be identified by how they what they do with their scars. And what they do with their scars that they get is they tattoo over them and have stories on their bodies, basically, of tattoos and their past experiences. They're also known to have many pockets. Baywalkers love pockets. And so Basco was a Baywalker who basically lived at a bay town. And I'm going to the backstory now. Basically, he used to live at a bay town. He had an old mentor, Admiral Tang, which he had a tattoo of Admiral Tang on him. And Admiral Tang was effectively this person that he looked up to, like this very brave adventurer type, this brave survivor who kind of taught him life lessons and taught him to be like headstrong and caring and whatnot. And you know, basically he managed to find Basco managed to find his way to the current location of the LARP, which was deemed Quiet Hollow. Like the little town we were in was known as Quiet Hollow. In order to get there, he went with my friend's character, who goes under the name of Wrench, another strain, specifically that's called a Diesel Jock. They're a nomadic strain, one that likes to travel. And Diesel Jocks, think Mad Max, think of those kind of people that love vehicles and everything like that. Basically traveled in with them to go to this town because they've heard of Quiet Hollow and be like, oh hey, maybe I can start something here, that sort of thing. That's the sort of inspiration I went with. But unfortunately, we put this into the backstory as well. And I'm actually going to read this. I was in the middle of something earlier, but in regards to safety thing, back then, when I was doing such and stuff like that, I was actually strict with safety. If someone felt unsafe and would not hesitate holding up, we're going through the motions, safety precautions. That's how they call things. So there's no shame to back down. Exactly, right? Like, safety comes first. They don't want to hurt the people. No one wants to hurt the people, especially at these sort of events. Like, and, you know, and that's one thing about DR. They're about safety first. Okay. Back to it. So, we effectively traveled towards Quiet Hollow. Me and Wrench, and I'm gonna start referring to me as Basco and them as Wrench now. Went to Quiet Hollow, and unfortunately, Wrench's vehicle may have exploded. Basco may have ruined Wrench's vehicle and got them stuck in Quiet Hollow. And that is the story we went with. So basically, Basco's already in debt to Wrench because Basco wants to make up to Wrench for destroying, you know, his vehicle. We didn't know what it is. We didn't get to that much detail because at that time we had we didn't really have much knowledge of Dystopia Rising and all the like everything like that. The best way to learn DR is to play it yourself, and that's what everyone has told us. And so basically we get into Quiet Hollow. We're not the only new players there. Oh, I should mention this before I continue. New players for DR are given a sort of a they call it the blue armband. Like, all new players are given a blue armband, or some sort of blue band where they can wear on their character to notify us, like, hey, I'm new, I may not know everything, go easy on us, that sort of thing. Basically, we were bluebirds, is what they called us. So we get in there, and we are taken into the post office as our characters once we start role playing. And we are greeted with an in-character person, literally named Safety Sam. Now, Safety Sam was one, like, out of character. They are literally the new player introduction, like, sort of like they help new players get into the game. They help, like, explain all the rules and everything like that. And there was 3 of us. There was me and my 2 buddies that I know. We were all bluebirds. We were all there. I should mention, that's when our characters actually met the 3rd individual, the 3rd bluebird, which was his strain was known as, you know what, I'm gonna bring this up real quick while it's on my mind. I should really do that. This is what I need. This way I can help get information on everything. So his strain was known as a Lascarian. Now, what a Lascarian is effectively think of Lascarians as they're under the they're under the category, like their strain category is Gorger, which means they kind of eat people. They're kind of cannibals. Um, but specifically, Lascarians are more like underground um vampires in a way. Um, they had lived, they basically live underground, and they done so for so long that the sun literally becomes deadly to them. So basically during daylight hours they have to be fully covered. They can't show like any really much any of their skin, any sort of thing like that. They literally have to be like all dressed up. Which um, my friend did so well. We met his character, and his character was named Joab. So Joab the Lascarian, who had apparently had to get out of his um, had to get out of the mine that he lived in before because it had collapsed, and so a lot of his family and stuff had died in this mine due to the collapse, and so he had to find a new place to call home, and he managed to wind up in Quiet Hollow. So we're all there. We're all talking and learning from Safety Sam, the the one that the Blue Jay helper, or literally Blue Jay. Well, we're gonna call them Blue Jay. And so we're all there. We're all meeting each other, getting into character and learning stuff like that. Right off the bat, Safety Sam is kind of teaching our characters, like giving us they're basically teaching us something for the minutes to for those like first 10 minutes of the role play. Not only teaching us like base mechanics, but like giving our in-game characters an actual skill that we can use. Like some of the basic skills, like wildlife skills and whatnot. So effectively, my character Basco decides to go for it. You know what? It would be really nice to be actually perceptive, aware of my surroundings. So he took a skill called awareness, which basically like, hey, if there is something sneaking around, I can basically yell something and be all like, hey, you are no longer like stealthed or anything like that. That sort of thing. Because by the way, NPCs in Dystopia Rising are played by actual people, mind you. All the people that go to Dystopia Rising take turns doing an NPC shift, but we'll get to that eventually. So, my character Basco picks up awareness because I figured, yeah, you know what, it'll be good. It'll be good to be aware of my surroundings. My buddy, I forget what he picks up. Yeah, no, I literally forget what the other two pick up, the other two bluebirds. But like, yeah, we pick it up. We learn how the post office works and everything like that. Which the post office, by the way, are the people you go to kind of acquire in-game items after you do things. But we'll get back into that later. But then we're kind of called out of the post office because it's like, Sam is like, hey, I taught you all something. I'm gonna need you to help me with something. And it's like, okay, fine. Let's go help. And so Sam leads the three of us out beyond the safety into the wasteland. And at this point, it is pitch black outside. It is nighttime. The sun has set. There are clouds overhead, so even the moon doesn't shine through. And we're in the middle of the woods. The best thing that we have to see, or the best thing I had to see with, was effectively a headlamp. And I should mention that for those people who bring lights and everything like that, you are not allowed to use white light. So I believe you are only allowed to use red light to help guide your way. I don't know why that is. I'm sure that's there for specifically like health and safety reasons. That way you're not blinding people. But effectively, I had the absolute worst time with this because my little headlamp, my little headlamp's red light was the worst possible light ever. I could barely see 5 feet in front of me on the ground if I was shining it directly at it. But effectively, we start going out there. And Sam explains to us along the way, it's like, yeah, you better get ready. There are some raiders that are kind of guarding some things. And so effectively, right at the beginning of this event, the Bluebirds, the newbie players, are thrown into a combat scenario with raiders in the pitch black darkness of night. And so we go out there, and we immediately, like, as we're approaching, we immediately hear the craziness of raiders. And raiders in Dystopia Rising, by the way, are individuals that kind of have their brain rotted away, so they can't really think straight, and they can't really be that reasoned with. They're very aggressive, very instinctual individuals who have just basically gone crazy. They've gone nuts, so they're psychos. So we go out there. We're supposed to fend off these raiders for a while Sam gets to go collect some loot, which they agree to split with us after. But of course, we start getting into combat, and there are... First off, we're immediately outnumbered. I have my two-handed ore, which is nice because it has reach and everything like that. Like, I have actual physical reach upon most opponents, but I'm just not used to this kind of combat, nor can I see. We have our Lascarian friend Joab, who has just a sword and also can't see. And then we have Wrench, who also just has a sword, but also has a gun, has a Nerf gun. They use Nerf guns to simulate guns in this LARP, which, you know, makes sense. That's fine. And so basically we start fighting. We do our best, but we're outnumbered, and majority of these people know what they're doing. And as a starting player, our protections and everything like that are extremely low, because like everything basically hits, at least raider wise, they were hitting for basically a quarter of what we had health wise every hit, which was not good, especially when they outnumbered us. But yeah, no, but we're going in, we're fighting. Literally the first swing I take as a as a player, I try to stop it in like one of these raiders from going after Wrench, and so I swing, and of course, because of the lack of light, because of the uneven ground we were on, because this was a rocky road, by the way. This was like all like kind of stone, everything like that. I straight up attack this man in the face. And that's a no-go, by the way. That is like not supposed to happen, but I made sure it's like, oh shit, I'm sorry, are you okay? Like out of character, we have to break character for this. Because you're allowed to break character as long as you do like hand gestures are an important thing in DR, and certain hand gestures will basically determine if you are in and or out of game, if you're in or out of character. And so like immediately I'm like, oh god, I'm so sorry. He's like, okay, fine, fight. And he goes like takes a rest, because like he just got hit with a big old foam paddle, like side death by in his head. I'm like, no, buddy. Like literally that was like the first swing, and I'm like, oh no. Yeah, it's a definite oh no. It's cuz it's cuz yeah, that happened. But effectively, like, I'm now scared that I'm gonna hurt more people right after that. I want to be careful with my swings. No, mostly you're supposed to do a light tap, that sort of thing, and supposed to you know, just try to be as cautious as possible when doing physical contact with other players. But of course, being my first combat, adrenaline pumping, everything like that, you know, a little antsy, I did screw up. In fact, when I was being ganged up on by 2 other raiders, I was having trouble because I was like, okay, I can't like dive in on them. I need to start backing up, and walking backwards on an uneven hill is also really bad at night. I was fumbling over bunches of rocks and everything, but eventually we kept fighting. They managed to split us up group wise. I managed to get surrounded by the raiders, and my character actually went down. This is gonna happen a lot, by the way. My character goes into down and bleed out. Because they managed to do enough damage to me to break any armor that I had and to reduce me to 0 health. So right at the end of combat, or right towards the end, once Sam got their stuff, I dropped down. And when you drop down, you are supposed to basically scream as if you are dying. So that's immediately as I do. And I am screaming and I am crying for help. My character's not technically dead yet, but effectively, you know, they're at a point to where they can't fight. And effectively, he's like, they were about to leave me when I started screaming like that. But like, literally, Sam rushed over, did some Healy thing real quick. Like, I didn't know exactly what they did. Got me back up, and we ran back to town screaming to get reinforcements because we were outgunned immediately. They sent the Bluebirds to be the vanguard for the night's event, which, I mean, I guess that's the sort of like, you know, how do I put it? I guess that's kind of smart, because it literally drops you head first and allows you to experience like kind of like fear immediately. But either way, we were sent out. We came running back into town, basically like, hey, there's a bunch of raiders behind us. We need y'all to go take care of them, because we were met by a couple of players. I don't remember exactly who then, but they were sent out to go clean up, effectively. And so we were escorted to safety back into the what they call the bar, the mess hall, basically the bar mess hall, where Sam was like, yeah, no, I'm gonna split the loot with you guys. And so started pulling out the loot, and basically started spreading, and basically gave us the idea, us 3 Bluebirds, to start splitting it. So effectively what was agreed upon is that based on how the combat went, uh, the wrench, being the diesel jock, decided, hey, I want a lot of this salvage, like the actual um, like medals and stuff from the raiders that we got from that loot box, um, because he had an idea of what he wanted to do with it. The Lascarian Joab took a bit as well, but they decided to leave with me like kind of a mix of everything. So I got bits of scrap, and then I got left with the actual rarest material in the thing. Because they're like, okay, you were fighting hard out there, or maybe they felt bad. I don't remember exactly. I don't remember exactly what we agreed upon, but basically I got my hands on this, what is called a festering crystal. I don't know much about it. I'm not going to explain it because I don't know. But basically, it is a material which I, as my character Basco, could not use. And we basically, after that, we were Sam, being the mentor and everything like that, decided like, hey, you guys just rest up here. I am going to go off, and because I need to do my own thing. And we never saw Sam again. Sam was out. We were there to learn from all the other players from then on out. So that's exactly what we did. Almost immediately, I was approached, or Baska was approached by another character. Now this guy comes up and he is in this weather, by the way, in the cold weather that I discussed earlier, comes up in a vest, a shredded sort of black scarf, and under the vest was no shirt, like nothing, like bare skin. You could just see it, and I'm like, you are crazy, first off, but respect. I don't know how some people could do that, but effectively comes up in this sort of garb, as well as like half a face mask or everything, like half of like a reddish demon face mask. You know, the kind of guy that like kind of screamed, is like, yeah, this guy kind of scary looking. But he introduced himself. He was rather kind. His character's name, Leon. Leon was basically like, yeah, do you know what you literally have in your hand, that sort of thing. And I'm like, no, I don't. And he starts explaining to me, it's like, what this material is, what this festering crystal is, and what can be done with it. And basically it's like, okay, so like, I can't do shit with this, but you're eyeing it. Do you need this sort of thing? And so he's like, yeah, I can do things with it, and so on and so forth. And basically it's like, Basco is like kind of communicating with Leon while Wrench goes away to get not all the Blue Board's armor repaired by another character, which I will talk about later. So like, I start making connections, by the way. I start like, okay, I will definitely be willing to trade this to you, sort of thing. But he gives me the opportunity. It's like, yeah, you are very well. See if you can get yourself a different price or anything like that. But I will meet you tomorrow morning, that sort of a thing. And I'm like, okay, I'm good with this. I'm okay with this. And so Leon goes off, does his own thing. That sort of thing. I don't have a strain for you, by the way, for Leon, because I didn't remember what kind of strain. I know I asked what strain they were, but I do not recall. All I know is that they are scary. They are wielding like dual wielding blades, and they are scary. Which then gets me introduced into the next character, the armor repairman, I think he's a very good, well, not the armor repair guy, but like one of them. His character was an older gentleman, looks like kind of like a biker dude, has like a big old bushy beard, wears like that bandana over his head, um, and you know, like a bigger guy, like not like big, but like, you know, he's got some bulk on him. He's got heft. He's over there like working at a workshop and everything like that, repairing our armor and everything like that, because we warned the town of the raiders and whatnot. His character name is Nash, and he is also, I believe, a diesel jock. I could be wrong, but yeah, he was a diesel jock and he repaired our armor for free. Then we were just free to like, and his character was like blunt, straight to the point sort of thing. It's like, you know, you should go. He's helpful, but he's like, you should go do this. You know, you guys need to learn how to get your own materials, that sort of thing. Stop hounding me, that kind of thing. Like, kind of good individual, but his character was very like, yeah, mind. I know what I'm doing. You don't know what you're talking about, that sort of thing. If you've seen Parks and Rec, I think Ron Swanson? Is Ron Swanson the name? Think that kind of personality, I would say. Maybe not as stern or anything like that. Maybe not to that point, but think of a Ron Swanson type character. Yeah, he repaired our armor. He was like kind of... He's a good guy and everything like that. Very like sword and shield fellow, very strong, that sort of thing. And then a lot of the Bluebirds by then decided to split ways and start going off to learn different things. Because in DR, learning things, you have to literally like learn. Most of the time, you learn things from other characters, and not like information sort of thing, like actual skills you can use in game as mechanics. Like, because in the end, this is a role-playing game. There are mechanics. It isn't just like straight up like, oh hey, I hit you, your head is gone, that sort of thing. Or like hit you, like, hey, your arm gone, that sort of thing. There are mechanics. It is a role-playing. It's a role-playing game. So effectively, I get to go around the bar and I settle next to the fire, and I meet an individual. Oh god, I was always messing up this individual's name, but his character was his character goes under the title of Postwalker. Effectively, they are the mail guy. They are the mailman. And they are a really strong mailman. They have been doing this a long time. This individual was like tending to the fire and everything like that, to keep the bar all nice and warm. And my character goes over, you know, introduces themselves. We sort of start talking, and he's like, "Yeah, no, I am the Postwalker. I have been everywhere. I can do nearly everything. I can teach you whatever you want." At a basic level. It's just like, okay. And I try to start thinking, it's like, actually, what does Baska want to do? Like, what seriously, what does Baska want to do? Like, what kind of person is he? Is he a combat person? And I'm like, no, Baska's not a combat person. So I decide, hey, I'm gonna go into a more civilized route. And I started like going over my options. I'm like, okay. I want to learn medical. I want to be a doctor. I want to help people in town. So he's like, okay. You know, the Postwalker man basically sits down, and I should describe this. I should describe his outfit. Basically, think of. It's actually going to be very fantasy based. Think of like not leotard. I'm well, maybe like a light blue leotard with like kind of brownish colorful pants, and like also like a very like um reddish kind of mosaic long undershirt, and then of course a bandana go with that, with like face paint, like colorful face paint, and he's wearing around his neck like a piece, like a kind of like a symbolish sort of talisman thing, like a, oh lord, like a dream eater looking like necklace, I guess is the way to put it. So he effectively is like, all right, I'm gonna teach you how to do basic medical. And in DR, you literally have to take a certain amount of time discussing topics in order to teach it to other players, right? So he has to come up with a thing to teach my character, like in game, how to do this sort of thing. And so he goes on to write. It's like, okay, so people are made of 3 things: dirt, rocks, and water. And I'm like, all right. So my character's like, all right. I am going to get into kind of voice here. All right. Dirt, rocks, and water. Yeah, no, that makes sense. That sort of thing. Vasco's not the smartest individual, mind you. He's a helpful one, but not the smartest. So Postwalker, eventually goes into feels like, all right, you know, when a person's get cut and everything like that, you know, they're bleeding and whatnot. What do? You pick up some dirt, right? You pick up some dirt. You make that individual spit in the dirt, spit in it, then rub that dirt in, and you just do that for like a minute or so, and you know what? They'll be good as rain. They'll be good as rain. And if they have like a broken bone or anything like that, to go in there, you just, before you put on the dirt and the spit, throw some rocks in. It'll heal that right up. Like, in character, I'm like being really like really sort of engaged with this conversation, but out of character in my mind, I'm busting up because this is the stupidest thing, but like for post-apocalyptic, it makes so much sense. So effectively, right off the bat, Vasco learns medical stuff. It's like, okay, this is great. This is fantastic. You know, that sort of happens, and that happens, and then basically we're all huddled around the fire. Well, not all of us, but like a couple of individuals are around the fire, including like another character I mentioned before, Leon. He's there doing things. I should also mention there was another one. I don't actually have this character's name. I never got this individual's name. Well, actually, I think I did, but as a person, I forgot it. Another individual, kind of like in glasses with face paint on, colorful face paint. More of like a tan sort of getup. While I'm learning medically, he comes over to me and is also like, hey, that's a cool weapon you got there. You mind if I see it? So this individual, wearing kind of sporting like the same sort of necklace as the Postwalker, effectively starts observing my weapon. It turns out that individual is a master at like two-handed weaponry, which my weapon was. And so he's like testing on my metal, or it's like, you know, this is quite heavy and everything like that. And I'm like, yeah, it's because, you know, it's Nor. It needs some weight to it. It needs to be able to push my, it was used to push my old boat around and that sort of thing. Because Vasco had an old boat. This is when he mentioned his old boat, the SS Canoe. It's a stupid meme name, but that's what I came up with. But yeah, no, it was used to and he starts describing. He's like, yeah, this is great and everything like that. And he pulls out his weapon, which is a long, sort of like bladed weapon. And I grabbed that, like he gives it to me, like to test out and everything like that. This thing is light as heck. Like, oh my lord, it is like super long and has great reach. But oh my god, it was like maybe half the weight of my ore, but just as long and just as potent. So it's like, oof. Like, I actually started talking to them like outside of character too, be like, hey, I want to learn how to make these. And then, the Postwalker man and that individual are like, yeah, no. The Postwalker's like, yeah, no, I made that out of game. I will definitely teach you. So I'm gonna try to like for next time. I'm literally gonna try to like learn some of those techniques to make these super lightweight weapons. So on and so forth. Just because, really neat. Like literally had a God, how do you describe it? Like literally, there was no with my weapon, for example. My weapon was made out of like pool noodle and PVC pipe. And like duct tape, lots of duct tape. It was good and acceptable, but so on and so forth. An hour, drink for your throat. I will indeed drink for my throat. Thank you, Moon. I've been talking for over an hour. I'm surprised. I am really surprised. Thank you. Okay. So, effectively, what was I going on about? Yeah, so my weapon was kind of heavy. But no, his weapons that he was making was made from like a different foam. It was like this, I forget the actual kind of name for it, but it was like a different, like lighter foam, that could be easily shaped, like cut and everything like that. And for the base of it, it was, instead of PVC pipe, it was made from like actually a golf club. It was made from like a golf club core, which was really neat. So I'm either going to, one, make one of my own, or two, commission that individual for a weapon. Perhaps. We'll see. For now, though, it's like Basco's like kind of hanging around with that group, learning from Postwalker Man, the two-handed fella. Leon was there, and then there was another individual. She was like in a she was in like a very dark getup with like a sun hat and everything like that, like a dark sun hat. She looked very what is the word? She looked like she was going to a funeral. And like she looked like she was going to a funeral. But I was also like kind of awed at this individual because they had two weapons with them. They were both like folded and bladed parasols, by the way. Like two parasols. Now they couldn't like fold out to be like extended or anything like that, but like folded in bladed parasols, and she had two of them. Not only did she have the parasols, her pack, which all people are required to have, like you're required to have like a supply pack with you as a player, was basically a mutated frog. Was a mutated stuffed animal frog, which was basically used as a pack to hold all of their stuff. So they literally like pulled out a frog and started going through their items and like pulled out bones and pens and everything like that from this stuffed frog. I'm like, that is so cool. Because I love stuff like that. I love the prop work and everything and the creativity that comes with it. Um, so effectively, this individual was known as a quiet one. They are like, think of Quakers and everything like that. Um, they kind of are, they are quiet individuals, and they kind of are like kind of creepy. Think of like like if you know like that old historical painting of like the farmer and his wife, think that as a quiet one. Like they are what's you know what? Let me get that up for you right now. They are what's known as a landsman. They are more of individuals that grew up like with the land and everything like that, and using the land to, you know, uh, supply themselves instead of like being in town. So they're kind of like opposites townies. They just grew up in nature. Um, but yeah, no, they're quiet folk. They're um, um, our characters been talking a little bit. We didn't get to talk long, unfortunately, because shortly after like Basco learning medical or basic medical, uh, the bar was attacked. Um, because it was the first night and so on and so forth. So a lot of action was going down. But yeah, the bar was attacked by a couple more individual. Actually, no. Um, no, that didn't start yet. It was still attacked. However, what we were interrupted was we were interrupted by a bell. Um, yeah, I'm like, what? Okay, so what the hell is going on? And then it's like, oh God, it's here. Um, so what the bell means is that, or at least what I've learned from the bell, is that something big and very dangerous has decided to approach in upon the bar. And basically, um, we were told, get the hell out and run. Because apparently, what that thing was is called an Archon. Think of an Archon like a insectoid spider-like monstrosity. That is basically one of the most dangerous things in all of DR. Had decided to encroach upon Quiet Hollow and was basically surveying the area, like scouting it out. Our people could not do anything to this Archon because at the time, it was basically impervious to anything that we would do to it. And we were told, it's like, hey, yeah, you bluebirds need to get the hell out, just stay away for a little while, go regroup, go do something out in the darkness, just stay away from that bell. And so we did, because this was not a fight for us. It was easily not a fight for us. We would have been destroyed and obliterated. But effectively, the Archon was coming around, scouting out, because Archons, or at least this Archon in particular, or at least the Archons around the area, have been feeding on something that is apparent throughout all of DR, and so on and so forth, which is called the Grave Mind. The Grave Mind the very simplest terms of what the gray mind is effectively a super fungus that is growing underneath all of the ground in DR. It is like deep underground. It is like kind of rooted in there, and it has like the grave mine is effectively like kind of like what happened, what kind of caused the Great War in the first place. In a sense, if I remember correctly, it kind of caused the Great War and caused all the nukes to come down, and thus the grave mine survived, and so on and so forth. But it's basically this super fungus underneath the earth, and it is basically present within all strains of humanity. Each individual gets powers and benefits from the grave mind, and so on and so forth. But yeah, this thing eats grave mind. So that's how kind of a big deal an Archon is. So yeah, we were told to run. The Archon does its scouting and feel like what, and then it's like, okay, so we can actually get back in, get back into the bar to where my character goes and is now starting to meet up with more individuals and so on and so forth. You know, getting hold on, was that? No, that was in the morning. Okay. No, but we go back in, and immediately after the Archon left, apparently some shit went down with the Archon. Our characters didn't really know much about it. Because, you know, we were told to stay away, but apparently the Archon ate someone, straight up ate someone, and left. It was brutal. Then we're allowed into the bar. We're kind of relaxing. We're sort of like getting a feel of what we want to do as characters, because now I'm talking with Wrench and Joab. We decide, you know, we're going to stay as a group, we're going to stay as a crew, so on and so forth, because we kind of need to benefit off one another in order to survive, in order to grow stronger, and stuff like that. My goal, I think, by that time is I'm like, yeah, we're going to need some better equipment or anything like that. We're going to have to figure out what we want to do, and we learned from, like, Postwalker. By the way, Postwalker was the most helpful to all of us, because he was just so knowledgeable and just so open and friendly, that yeah, no, he was like helping us like determine, not tell us what to do, but like kind of give us ideas of what we could do and so on and so forth, based on what suggestions we had told him what we were looking for, and so on and so forth. And so we were doing that, and then we talked for him for quite a while, and after we basically determined, it's like, hey, you know, Wrench is gonna be our like scavenger, that sort of thing. He's gonna pick up that sort of well, no, Wrench is kind of going to be like the scavenger and farmer of the group. He's going to go get like some materials for like for the group. Joab was also going to be a more of like a forager and a like a trailblazer, both like scavenging things, like wildlife survival things, so on and so forth. And then yeah, I was gonna be the more social person. Basco is gonna be the more social one. He was gonna be the one that kind of like stays in town and helps get trade and stuff going. Effectively, because then by that time I had figured out, it's like, hey, you know, maybe Basco should learn cooking, culinary, and so on and so forth, to make foods, which in DR, foods can actually be beneficial. Foods are not required, but they're very beneficial. So on and so forth. Like, and this is for like foods. in character, not like outside of character, that sort of thing. Like it's like, okay, yeah, no, and I'll try to learn that, like, in the more when we have time, learn it from some individual and whatnot. And but before we could continue, the bar once again gets under attack. This time by raiders, specifically not the same raiders from before. These raiders were of a stronger breed. I believe they were Scarlet Raiders. They were like red and covered in blood, and they are a lot scarier. And they started attacking, and we had to, like, basically everyone started forming up. Shield walls started being put up. They were coming from all entrances of the bar, and there was 3 of them. There was like 2 at one end and 1 at the other. So basically, it's like we had to start defending and start taking them out, so on and so forth. And with our numbers and our coordination, everything like that, we were able to do that. And while this is all going on, there's like panic and everything like that. You could hear the wails and combats of these crazed raiders as they're trying to break through. And this is like at nighttime, by the way. This is still nighttime with the first night. So you hear them outside, you hear the combats going on, like the people defending the front end, while we're defending the inside from the people in the back. Which by this point, I gotten a little bit more comfortable with where I'm supposed to do positioning wise with my big 2-hander. While I couldn't really do damage or status or anything like that, Wrench had gotten his hands on a shield, and so he became sword and board. Yeah, he became a sword and board. He was like a front line. I was be able to reach around him to be able to, start fighting off these individuals. While we didn't exactly do that much this time, I had found another individual to, like, kind of fight behind. I was the back person that would use my superior reach to kind of fend off these sort of individuals. But like the Scarlet Raiders, they came in, they tried their darndest, but they were eventually pushed back. And then we were greeted immediately after. We were greeted by another individual draped in all red. This was not a player. This is an NPC, by the way. He comes in draped in red, in a big red hat and like glasses and everything like that. And everyone kind of like drops their sort of combat thing. They kind of like get out of aggro mode. And this is like, okay, what the hell is going on? Is this their leader? Is this the Scarlet Raider leader sort of thing? And turns out no. Turns out this is a character named Big Red, who apparently frequents the town and is a traitor. More like a mob boss traitor. And so it's like, oh. And so it's like, okay. So he's coming in, discussing with a couple of individuals, and then individual players and whatnot. I'm like, okay, so combat's over. This big red guy is here. Okay, so what the hell is gonna go on? So I take a moment to like sit down, catch my bearings, catch my breath. When Joab's next to me, and our characters have been communicating, so on and so forth. Oh. Oh, God. My apologies. That sound probably sounded disgusting. All right. What? And while we are there, we're kind of in close contact with, like, the big red group. Need more water? No. I'm fine. It's just non-stop talking. But I'm good. I'm good, Moon. Thank you, though. I appreciate it. If I do need a drink, I'll grab it myself. For now, though, it's, so for now they're talking, and then, like, they said, it's like, hey, You know, it's like they decide, hey, we're gonna move our conversation, that sort of a thing. We need to do like some talking elsewhere, that sort of thing. And then one of the taller players reaches out towards us two and be like, hey, do you guys want an opportunity? It's just like, what sort of opportunity? And it's just like, what of criminal kind? And Joab immediately hops on this. um, and it's like, yeah, I'm gonna go, and I would love to learn stuff like that. Okay, I'm like, and Bass was like, I don't really know if I want that. Uh, thank you. This individual, by the way, was wearing like a big old trench coat with like lots of like tags and written stuff like patched in. Um, like lots of like letters and everything like that. A very neat setup. Um, and so on and so forth. And I think they were a rover, which is another nomadic strain. They were named Lazarus. They were kind of a big deal. Uh, and he made it so. But he gave us the opportunity, so it was like Joab hops on it, and then as they start going out, I'm like, you know what? I'm interested, so I decide to hop in with Basco. And going into DR, I didn't expect Basco to take this turn, but he effectively goes in and gets this meeting with Big Red. Oh, roll the die. Oh, okay, Marvel. Marvel. I will indeed roll the dice for you. Marvel, how are you doing tonight? I hope you're doing well, by the way. Haven't seen you in chat for a little. I am so sorry about that. I may have accidentally just unplugged my mic. No. So anyways. Yeah, no. I'm just like, oh. I didn't know how to set it on your guys' end. So, anyways. Let's see. Let's roll a dice. He does something to disrespect the god of death. He catches you for honorary reasons. He challenges you to a fancy duel. All your magic items and attacks and your epic boons speed given to you by the god of life. What do you do? Well, with this roll, you decide, yeah, you know what? I'll fight the god of death. I will fight you. I will fight you to my last breath. And you decide to go in, but you're a little too overzealous. You go face this thing head on. You don't think. You don't understand exactly what the god of death is capable of until you start feeling your skin just disintegrate away as you approach the god of death. And effectively, you kind of lose hard. I rolled a 3 on that, by the way, Marvel. I'm sorry if I'm keeping it short, but this is so Marvel. This is the first time I'm doing a story time stream, so I'm gonna try to again. Don't do it again. Well, not again. So Marvel, each time I've rolled for you, I first rolled a natural 1 for you, then I rolled a 2, and now it just turned to a 3. It just keeps going up in increments of 1. Bravocado. Thank you for the sub, and welcome to the flock, by the way. That is a name in which I haven't heard of in forever. I hope you are doing well. But yeah, welcome. Enjoy yourself here. Just chillax. And take up a seat. Get yourself a drink. We are going over what I've been doing this past weekend. But yeah, glad to have you here, and glad to see that you're, glad to see that name again. I'm actually really happy about that. You'll get a nat 20 eventually, Marvel. Don't worry about that. But anyways, where did I leave off? Yes. So the meeting with Big Red. So Basco was pulled to this meeting with Big Red. There's a couple of individuals there. There's of course Joab, um, our other our other um our other Bluebird. Uh, Mary also shows up there, the quiet one I told you about before, and so on and so forth, and Lazarus and everything like that. And then two more individuals, which I don't remember the names of off the top of my head. But effectively, Big Red starts discussing this plan of like basically about how he knows an individual who is going to be coming to Quiet Hollow, going to be coming to the town like the next day, and is like, hey, I need somebody, one of you, to acquire a to acquire a sort of a paper from this individual without the individual knowing. Get the information on it and then put it back. So effectively, we're supposed to we were planning on effectively thieving from an individual, from a very important trading individual, finding much about his like stock or whatever the heck was. I don't remember exactly all the details, but effectively getting into that and then basically putting it back before he knows it was ever gone. And by the way, this is actually extremely difficult to do in game. But we agreed to take on the terms, and then it's like Big Red's like, I will be back tomorrow sometime after, and so on and so forth, and you better have results by then, that sort of thing. You know, like any kind of like the threatening mob boss way, because he's a mob boss. So effectively he leaves, and then Lazarus, the big old rover, brought us in. It's like, all right, so we got the plan, and you two, he points to us Bluebirds, like, all right, we're gonna sit here discussing the plan. It's like how we're gonna do this, and we start going over. It's like, you know, a little bit of distraction here and there, like, but then he's like, okay, you two take out your character sheets now, and by the way, you carry your character sheets on you. You use those character sheets in DR to sort of like record what you do throughout the day and that sort of thing. So he gives out he's like, get out your character sheets and start writing this down. Basically, me and Joab both at the same time learned a civilized skill known as criminal influence. We effectively now have access to a special black market once per game to get some items, and we also get access to disarming traps and stuff. I don't know why criminal influence has access to disarming traps, but hey, we have it now. And I like going in, it's like, oh my god, this is awesome. And then I'm like, I'm happy with this. I am very happy with this. And then it's like, all right, now to help with the plan, do any of you want to learn larceny, which is basically pickpocketing, thievery. And so my character is like, I don't want to steal from no individual, so I'm going to sit this one out. But of course, Joab hops right on it. Joab goes like, yeah, I want to learn larceny. And so he sticks around, learns larceny, and I'm like, all right, Basco's heading off. Well, actually, before Basco heads off, we get basically welcomed into a sort of like a group or a crew. Like, yeah, you know what? Welcome to the Miners. And yeah, they were called the Miners. I don't know why they were called Miners, but they were called the Miners. That is just their shtick. Their name, their group name. Not like, we're like, you know, I don't know why. I need to ask more questions next time. Who the hell are them? Who are they? But effectively, Basco and Joab got introduced, like basically got welcomed into this kind of criminal organization. Which was neat. I didn't expect that to happen, but it was neat. Um, and after that, um, I split off. A lot of time was kept into the bar because one, it was cold outside and dark, and I didn't want to explore anything alone. So on and so forth. The rest of that night is a little shady. When I say shady, I meant like fuzzy in my head. It wasn't that too eventful. I think that Basco went. Yeah, Basco went to go help tend the fire with Postwalker, and was basically learning how to cook there. That's how Basco learned to cook, was helping like tend the fire and everything like that, and role playing with Postwalker and everything, and so on and so forth. So yeah, now Basco basically has 4 skills under his belt, which 3 of them are civilized, and I should explain this to you. Skills are categorized into 4 categories. The more you take from the more you put skills into the same skill category, the more they cost. The more they start to cost. So effectively, since we were just starting out, and you only get a certain amount of experience per game you can spend on skills and such, I effectively was getting near tap out. And while this was happening, while I was learning all civil stuff, while I was learning silver stuff, I met back up with Wrench, who I discovered had learned a couple of combat tricks, and so on and so forth, and had figured out some things. I also got talking to later that night with an individual who basically I forget which individual it was. No, hold on. It was, what was their name? No, that was at a different time. I'm sorry. I'm like going over everything in my head to figure out like when some events happened and what individuals I talked to. Effectively. Oh yeah. No. I talked to another player. Her character's name was Shay. She was also a traveler, a rover. Specifically a doc. No, Shay. Did I say Shay? No, Shy. Her name was Shy. A rover who like goes over to a bunch of different games and everything like that. She was the kindest, very kind woman. She decides like, hey, I'm going to like kind of like, or no. It wasn't Shay that night. No, that was in the morning. What am I thinking of? There was some individual at night, somewhere along the night, the first night, I had learned a recipe to make these things called brews, which are basically like longer lasting stuff that you can carry from game to game, right? To like kind of invigorate players. It's like, okay. So like, but by that time, like a lot of other stuff happened. The bar got attacked once again. This time, combat didn't really take place in, but it was like, what was it? It was a warden? I believe it was a warden. And wardens are individuals who kind of go after like psychic people of powers and everything like that. And they're nothing to scoff at or anything like that, but some other individuals took care of the warden somehow. I don't remember. By this time I was
physically and mentally, I was kind of like, kind of on the low end because, I don't get out much. So, um, so effectively at some point, that was as much as eventfulness I can think of for the first night. Went to sleep in their tent, um, you know, 20 something degrees outside, curled up in sleeping bag, went to sleep, and so on and so forth. And I spent almost 2 hours talking, or over an hour talking about just the first night. Oh my god. And the first night begins at like 7 p.m. Like actual like IRL time. It begins 7 p.m. So knowing that and everything like that, that's interesting. So, but let's go on to the second day, the first morning. This is Saturday IRL time. Effectively, we get up, we when it's time, Wrench has made breakfast and had some pancakes, bacon, stuff like that. Ate our breakfast. Went back into the bar because people were gathering there early morning, that sort of thing. Not really events were happening. Joab joins me in the bar, and I decide to start up a little bit of roleplay with Joab. I decide, hey, I'm going to teach you some games because my character, Basco, actually likes may have a bit of a problem, but I wouldn't call it a problem. He just likes gambling. So he decides to start teaching Joab, starts trying to teach him Liar's Dice, which, by the way, for the event, I brought my own pair of dice and a cup to start kind of teaching people Liar's Dice. The good thing was, they already had Liar's Dice there, which was helpful. So they had like pairs of dice and pairs of cups, and yeah, Liar's Dice is a game that's basically like a it's a bluffing game. And so Basco is going over teaching Liar's Dice, teaching the Lascarian how to gamble, so on and so forth. And we get the interest of other players who start coming over. We brought over a character I believe named Mia, if I remember correctly. Mia, she came over to start playing with us. I don't know exactly anything about her strain or anything like that. I should have asked. All I know is that they were a wonderful person. They like gambling. Yeah, we started like gambling, and we start playing Liar's Dice. Not for like any money, because we didn't really have much in the way of money. Oh, shoot! Never mind. I'm not gonna get into that. I already missed that story the first night. Should I go back? Okay, fine. I actually did have some money. I remember that I did, as Vasco, did a little odd job from that we got from the post office. Effectively to be all like, oh hey, go deliver this letter to an individual, find them, and so on and so forth. And just there's some like jumble and some stuff on the note and whatnot. Basically worked as a post person. But then we also, not only that, we were given a second job at the post office too, by an individual who's like, hey, you know how I mentioned Lazarus earlier? Lazarus was not, it was not the first time I had met Lazarus, the big old rover, because I was told to go find him and insult him. My character didn't do that, because I was told, like, hey,
because this man had a big old coat and be like, hey, one of your pockets needs to be glued shut. That's kind of like an insult to him, that sort of a thing. Not like, that sort of a thing. But yeah, no, like went to him, insulted him, and then played a little game that they had there known as Truth or Wrench. I forgot all about that. Truth or Wrench. Basically like Truth or Dare, except for you get to choose between telling the truth or getting hit with a wrench. Then they had a foam wrench which they threw around. And I'm not going to go into all the details out. But yeah, that was basically the first time I met Lazarus before the whole Raider, the Scarlet Raider fight, and then the Big Red incident. But anyways, back to the other day. So the gambling started up. We got the interest of quite a few other players who came in. And then Nash, the blacksmith person from earlier, from the first night, came in and started, introduced another game to us, a game in which I didn't know, known as Left, Right, and Center. So what Left, Right, and Center is, it's basically to play Left, Right, and Center. You have to, first off, it requires special dice. Secondly, you have to donate in 3 of the currency, basically 3 stone, because stone was the local currency. We used stone to pay for things. So 3 stone were brought in, and basically, like, when it was your turn, you rolled dice, and depending upon what the dice roll, you either keep what you have, you pass one of your currency onto the left or right, or you pass it into the center of the pot. And so basically, like, we this is a fun game, by the way. It isn't like a game of bluffing or anything like that. It's just a kind of a high chance game sort of thing. And so basically we went at that for a couple of rounds, or for our first round, and Basco won the first pot. So in order to win the game, everyone else has to lose their stuff, and then the last player has to roll to keep their stuff. And that's what happened. I managed to roll it, keep the last of my stone, and then claim the pot. So on the first morning, Basco was filthy rich for a bluebird. And I am not kidding you. So he used that money and kept gambling. He actually oh god, now that I am remembering all this stuff, all the stories now are getting back to my head, and I'm remembering exactly what the hell happened. There was actually so much more that happened the first night. Holy crap. And I actually need to go back and talk to you about this. During the first night, the last NPC visit was from a group called the WWE. WW Entertainment. Who brought in basically like this announcer man who came down with like a couple of tough looking people and be like, hey, we're here in the bar and we're gonna have one of you lucky people get to fight our people in the ring. Here's the thing, it'll be a one-on-one, anything goes, that sort of thing. And so people were taking bets on them there too. And so on and so forth. Keep in mind, I did have some money at the time. Or Basco had money at the time. Myself as Basco. As, and started making bets. Won a little bit more money then. We got to see basically like a lot of individuals like kind of fight it out against these masked fighters. And it was actually like a wrestling event sort of thing. It was very hyped up. Everyone was just getting into it, just cheering people on. Um, Wrench threw himself into the ring too. He lost, but he did it, and I'm proud of the boy. I can't believe like all of these memories are coming back to me. I've noticed that I am absolutely atrocious at telling a cohesive timeline story just based on my memory. But I hope you all are at least getting it. But like there was some like crazy fighters. Like there was the there was the Rad Bear fighter who was basically like in a raccoon onesie and just kind of like just beating people up. He wasn't that good. That WWE fighter lost, mind you, but it was hilarious. Because what the player did who was versing them was like, oh, you want a shiny? Here, take a shiny. And Rad Bears apparently love shinies, so they go after it and he just beats them down. or then she beat them down. I believe this character, this was Mia, by the way. The one I mentioned before that joined us for gambling. She just beat that Red Bear down. Next was like a fighter up named Freebird. He was like in a doctor's mask, that sort of thing, like a plague doctor's mask. And it was hilarious. It was hilarious. So Reds went up against Freebird, lost to Freebird, but you know, put up a good fight as well as he could. Just didn't have a shield at that time. Next up, I forget the fighter's name, but he was like a big old muscly guy. Very scary looking individual. He got beat by, I believe, I don't know who took him on. I don't remember exactly. But effectively, like, these fights went on for a while and everyone was betting and whatnot. I made a lot of bets with Nash and so on and so forth. Won a couple back. I got a net positive of 1 stone, which, you know, that's a killing. Good. And eventually the announcer guy was like, all right, we're going to try to end the night off strong. And the announcer himself got into the ring. It was like, who will face me? That sort of thing. At the time, I didn't know this character's name, but if I remember correctly, it was a pureblood, which a pureblood, the pureblood strain is basically like the nobility, the ones who are effectively the purest, the most unaffected, infected by the most human, basically. You know, they're hoity-toity, high-class society, that sort of thing. They went in against the announcer. They lost against the announcer, by the way. But they healed him up, gave it a good show. And it was a fun night. Okay, but anyways, let's rewind. Let's now fast forward / rewind. Fast forward / rewind. Second day, or first morning, second day, whatever you want to call it. So we started gambling more with the game called Left, Right, and Center. We got a bigger group this time. You know, everyone was pitching in, giant pots, that sort of thing. You know, played in like that. And while we were playing, by the way, I didn't know this was happening, but, you know, we were all playing and everything like that. We got through another game or so, and Basco decides, you know what? I'm good for now. I want to go do some things. You know, Basco leaves to get up from the table, so on and so forth.
Because I had my own, out of character, I had my own personal business to take care of. But apparently, after that, was heading up to like the post office and everything like that, to where we can get our items and everything. And Joab joins me. Be like, yeah, no, come up to the post office with me. And not only that, one of the mentors comes up as well. Not mentor, one of the ops people, one of the like the main proprietors, operators of the event. Be like, yeah, no, come up with me. And it specifically asks like, hey, yeah, come into the post office with us. We're gonna teach you something. It's like, okay, so we do, and go into the post office, and then he goes to Joab, is like, hey, can you explain what you did? And then he goes to the post office people's like, yeah, I would like to know what items are in this individual's bag. Apparently, during the gambling, which Joab was a part of, by the way, he had stuck a thievery pin onto his neighbor's supply bag, which with a mentor watching means that they can go up to the post office to see the items in the individual's bag and take them. Like, actually, like, thievery and take them. Now, if you know anything about like, not just Dystopia Rising, but like any sort of wasteland sort of scenario where it's survival and you steal from another person, that's basically a death sentence. That is, and I quote, it opens you up to character versus character combat. So they are free to engage you in that sort of thing. And so Joab, being a first-time player and a bluebird like me, decided to steal from another player. And do you want to know the most screwed up part about it? It's actually funny, but it's so screwed up. So, wait. Okay. The screwed up part about it was that that the individual that they stole from was not only a part of the miners crew that we were also part of, it was the quiet one I told you before, Mary, with the bladed umbrella things. Not only stole from them, but they happened to be the in-character partner, like girlfriend partner, of the individual that taught Joab how to steal. Let that sink in for a second. Of how ridiculously just screwed up that is. Like, he didn't know at the time, but just imagine, like, the story he has to tell if he got caught, right? I'm sorry. It was just kind of funny when, like, we learned that information. And so on and so forth. Like, keep in mind, later on, Joab went to Mary and be like, hey, I'm giving this back to you, sort of thing. I was just wanting to test my ability. Keep in mind, they forgave them because Bluebird, but that would have been like, if they weren't Bluebirded, Mary could have easily just killed him right then and there. Like, non-provoked, just killed the player. Well, I mean, like, they would have an actual fight sort of thing. They would actually have to fight, but considering, like, the levels and ranges, yeah, no, they would easily lose. I don't know, I found it pretty funny. Let's see. So, after the gambling,
after gambling, and after that little scenario, figuring out that hey, my a member of my crew, the the Lascarian's a thief. Basco goes off, takes care of his business, gets back, and another event is happening. Like another sort of situation is happening. What I see is a group of individuals like going off into the wasteland, which is basically CBC territory. And there's some discussions like what the hell is going on, a sort of thing. And then I hear it's like, hey, this character Sierra is her name. She is being dragged off into the wasteland by Valor, and they're using names at this point. I'm like, I don't know who these individuals are, but I can sort of like use stuff to take them out or to pinpoint who is who. So that's Sierra, the player being drugged off, and then Valor, which is this guy dressed in all black with a huge bloody axe and like just a red face paint, very, very scary looking dude. And so it's like, and then you have a group of players that are like, okay, we have to go after them. I'm like, okay, I'm interested in seeing where this goes. I'm gonna go with them. It turns out, Sierra Sierra the character has a twin sister, Corey, who they like Corey's going out to save the sister. The other individuals are going there to help protect both of them, to figure out what's exactly happening. And this Valor person basically states is like, hey, all I'm asking is this: if you want to save your friend, you are going to have to challenge me, and you are going to have to challenge me on one-on-one combat. At most, I will take 5 of you. You have 5 chances. So, at first, of course, I'm watching from the back because it's like, I don't think I can handle this sort of thing. And I'm there with another individual who I haven't introduced yet. His character, big cowboy hat, wearing Russian sort of not a Russian, but like a large coat. Think of like the old think of like very cowboyish style. Think of like Lone Ranger cowboy style with the big old poncho, like giant leather poncho. And his name was Hawkthorne. So he's based on what I know, Hawkthorne his strain is an American. So Americans are basically your Southern Hicks. They all wear these big old cowboy hats, and they're interesting individuals. They are very community oriented. They're very good individuals, but you see an American without their hat, there's some trouble. Someone's either dying or American's dead. But effectively, like we're all there. He's the one who's like kind of staying with me and everything like that. And we watched as these groups of players start going up against this individual named Valor and just get slaughtered, like just one after another. It's kind of a very heart-wrenching sort of moment, because we don't know what's happened. Are they all gonna get dragged off to be like killed or anything like that? Because that sort of thing. Because as they were fighting, I was learning it's like from Hawkthorne, like who is Valor, that sort of thing. And apparently, the grave mine that is supposed to be under Quiet Hollow is not exactly whole. At some point or another, they got shattered, or something like that. The grave mine got screwed up. And this is a very recent event, by the way. This is a very recent screw up, like, in game wise. And so, shards, these grave mine shards, like these individual aspects of the grave mine, have come forth, and Valor is one of these aspects. Valor is one of these shards, and he starts, we're all fighting, and the 5 fights go by, and Valor is still standing. And so we're all at a tense situation to where it's like, we used all our chances, and now 6 individual characters are basically brought down to their knees. It's just like, okay, we don't know what's gonna happen. Are they gonna be dragged off? Are they gonna be killed? Are they gonna be brought back into, like, corrupted or anything like that? We don't know. Oh god, so sorry. Do not mean to do that. So, so Valor says, the shard says, I will drink. Thank you, Zero. Valor's like, hey, you all followed what I said. You all fought admirably with no tricks, no sort of thing. You have shown your honorability and your valor. And he does something that raises all the players that he just decimated, like heals them and raises them, and so on and so forth. And then, but then it's like they will be saved, and so on and so forth. But then there was some sort of like private little roleplay between, like, sisters and everything like that, which I didn't really stick around for, because it's like, okay, we don't need to stick around here. It'd be a good idea if we just kind of vacate and figure out something. Because by this time, a lot of the morning, by the way, I was looking for an individual character. The one I met, like one of the first characters I met, Leon, to talk about some trade deals. But I haven't seen them around at all. That sort of thing happened. Which, by the way, I was so tempted to jump into a fight. I knew it was out of my league, but I was so tempted. But unfortunately, at that time, oh fuck, I forgot. I'm getting all the events mixed up. Like the timing for them, because there was something that happened before that. Effectively, the thing that happened before that made it so that I didn't have any armor. I hadn't gotten it repaired yet. I didn't have the time to get it repaired yet. So I would have been utterly trashed if I were to go in the fight, because I would have basically gotten 2 hits would have taken me down. But the American I talked about before, Hawkthorn, had given me their armor to borrow in case things went south. So basically, I got to wear that giant leather, that giant leather poncho. It was kind of nice. It was really cool. I'll go a bit. It's really cool. But I gave it back to him at the end of it, because like I didn't need it. He thought he was never gonna get it back. But that little thing happened. Now when you time rewind to before that little grave mine shard event, we were attacked in the morning by find more raiders, a different strand of raiders. While I was attempting to learn recipes. I had talked with another character and be like, hey, if you want to borrow my recipe book, like, look through it, see what you potentially want to learn, and so on and so forth. So it's like, okay, yeah. So I was learning, I was sitting at a table. Raiders come busting through the door next to me. I'm like, oh, God. And before I could really get up, they basically started attacking me and hitting me, and I went down into bleed out. I had to scream, and I was basically, like, pulled. Another character came up, grabbed me, pulled me into the safe, like, not a safe zone, but like a way from the fight, so I didn't get dragged off, because these raiders were trying to literally, they were coming in to find the strongest individual that they could kill and then drag them off to eat them. I'm not kidding you. Apparently they did, but we're not getting into that. Because I don't know exactly what happened, because I was dragged into the kitchen by another player, a working actual kitchen, to be healed and so on and so forth. And I met with like kind of in the kitchen, I met with kind of the bigger healers and culinary people of the group, and they started sharing like, you know, some healing stuff with me, and so on and so forth. You know, and just they were overall good people, and so on and so on. Then went out, did the whole grapevine shard thing, came back into town. Came back into town. Things were quiet for a bit, until the main individuals of the grave shard thing came back. Sierra and the twins came back. So it's like my character kind of has already met Sierra at some point during the night. So I was like, basically went to them, made sure they were okay, you know, kind of asked like what the experience was, because I also had to meet with Sierra eventually, because we had discussed sometime earlier. It's like, hey, would you like help craft anything like that? And so we did. Basically got some materials from them for our crew, like basically to help us like start getting us more on our feet with like production and everything like that, because in order to produce things you need to spend a resource called mind to do it. And these sort of things we got helped us kind of regenerate our mind and so on and so forth, because I was going to be the cook and help, you know, get them all settled in. And that's when Leon finally showed up. An individual I've been looking for all morning. And he, being the honest person that he was, or so on and so forth, the scary man with the mask, brought with him a bunch of money to pay for the rare items I had got that I couldn't use. So I had given it to him, you know, made it a fair deal. I would assume it's a fair deal. Keep in mind, I'm still a new player. But did that. Basically was rolling in dough for a first time. Like literally, for what I had paid, what he had paid me was effectively, like, at the time I had like, before the transaction ended, I had like maybe 6 stone as money. By the time that ended, I had like 56, which is a ton, by the way. And that wasn't even that. He said that he would like, also it's like, yeah, no, next time you're around, I will help you, like, you know, get some armor and everything like that. And I had learned at that point, Leon, this character, this kind of scary looking individual with like the long hair, the half face mask. He was kind of a CVC character, so he liked to fight other characters. In fact, his whole crew that he was with liked to fight other characters. So now, not only has Basco had gotten himself intertwined with criminal influence in the form of the mob, but has gotten himself intertwined and gotten connections with a sort of murder group that kind of lives on the outside of town. I thought I was gonna be a good character. Apparently not. I just got shady connections everywhere, which was perfect for me. Actually, it was relatively perfect. I'm trying to think. During a lot of those events, I didn't actually get to take during those events, what's the next major thing? I went up to the store, went up to the post office, got myself used my criminal stuff to get me some poison for potentially later. I don't have a target to use it on. I didn't have a target to use it on yet, but I have it just in case. But effectively, what I did is I went around after that to sort of get myself more bearings. I had found an individual by the name of Fern. This person was in like a full kind of like ghillie suit getup with like a straight up hazmat suit mask sort of a thing, like the scary ones with like the two big like respirators and like the small black eyes, or not the small, but like the glass eye things. And he was carrying literally like a fire axe. This guy, if you saw him approaching you, you would run. But no, I had met with this individual, and he agreed. It's like, hey, let's do some combat training. So I was actually learning combat training with him for a little while. I didn't learn any skills or anything like that, but no, I was just kind of like sparring with him while Wrench was sparring with another person. We were learning combat techniques and everything. And now, at this point, I'm actually perfectly comfortable with combat, because after that combat, literally the town gets attacked once again. And there's a lot of attacks on town, by the way, by Zed. Zed are basically the zombies of this scenario. Zeds are slow shamblers sort of things, and they come in, they do their things. I used my newfound like combat prowess and went and took care of them with ease. After that, decided to go meet up with some other people, and I decided to speak it up with the pureblood, which was named Echo. Echo was like this colorfully dressed individual, like with like a shield and a really cool looking dagger. For a pureblood, they weren't that stuck up at all. They had, they had their rhyme reasons, but effectively I had learned that they were like master culinary, so on and so forth. So they were gonna kind of like teach me with culinary, and be like, hey, he's like, you want to cook sometime? Because I've been looking for new people to cook with. So like, hell yeah, Basco's made a friend, a cooking friend. And so effectively, basically get intertwined with this pureblood, and they're teaching me. It's like, hey, here's some of the cool recipes you can learn. Here's what they do, that sort of thing. And they're teaching me this while they're cooking their own stuff. And so we're sitting at like a cooking station, doing the prep and whatnot, being taught everything, so on and so forth. It was really fun. Echo is a delight. Oh, and Echo, by the way, is Their name actually isn't Echo. Echo is an acronym for their full name, which is like super long, and I don't remember it, so it's just abbreviated to Echo. You know. But effectively, by the time I had finished with the cookie stuff, I had realized out of game it was time for me to do my NPC shift. So I get out of character, get out my character's costume, so on and so forth, which requires me to like take off everything. I have to like, I was like wearing like a vest with a lot of pockets, pants with a lot of pockets, old rags, little bits of armor here and there, and so on and so forth. So basically told, hey, get out of character, go walk up this 45-degree hill, and climb a shit ton of feet to head back to ops. Which effectively, when you head out of NPC shift, at least what they called it there, they call it like, oh hey, your character has to go guard the town wall. They're gone for whatever time. Get out of game, go to my NPC shift, and yeah, and throughout the game, I've been looking forward to NPC shift because I want to see what it's like. Get up there. I get assigned into a special NPC thing, where basically I get to accompany another Gravemind shard. As a special Zed, like I am a special zombie that gets to follow around this Gravemind shard, and basically what this whole plot was, what this whole event was, is effectively there are these special Zed running around, and we need to construct something to take care of them. And so I was one of the special Zed along with like 4 other individuals, and we were basically put into makeup, like literally like white makeup on our face, darkened eyes, put in dirty rags, given little boppers and everything like that. And we were told, hey, go out into the forest and be all like here and stuff like that. The interesting thing is with our Zed, our special Zeds, we were each given a symbol on our forehead. This symbol represented one of the many faiths or religions in the Dystopia Rising universe, or the setting. I wouldn't say universe, just setting. So effectively, I was given one of like a music note, and like some of the other ones were given signs of like a lantern, or like a like a triple X sort of a thing. Like each one to represent the many faiths. And so what happened was, the townspeople were supposed to come towards our location, start building a device, take time to build this sort of like thing, while us Zed were supposed to attack them. So they started building their device. Us as Zed would go after them. We were shamblers. We were very slow. But the special trait with us is if the individual that attempts to kill us, if they are not of the faith on our forehead, we get back up. We regenerate. And the funny thing was, I was one of the faiths that none of the players had in the group. So I was effectively this individual, this basically invincible zombie that just kept getting back up, and they couldn't. Like, they were able to get me down easy because they were very skilled in combat. We're supposed to act our part too, and basically be very sluggish. but they just couldn't kill me, so they had to like think of other ways to be like, okay, all right, here's what we're doing. We're we're getting you downed. We're wrapping you up in twine. Like they're gonna wrap up my body, my zombie body in twine, and then they're gonna leave me restrained, so that I can't get up, I can't do anything, that sort of thing. So they did that um, for a couple of my variants and so on. Because yeah, they couldn't kill me. They absolutely couldn't kill me because of the dang power. But eventually they built the little thing they needed to, which then stopped the event. The players succeeded. We had to go back to the shelter and everything like that, so on and so forth. And you know, that sort of little event thing took quite a bit of time. Like it like took like an hour or so. Like events run like every hour or anything like that for the NPCs, I learned. So yeah, we were sent back, and then by this time I was it was getting dark. Late in the day, getting dark, and so effectively what they had me do is that they were preparing for the night sort of events, the big events, like Saturday night is supposed to be like the big old event thing, and they were doing preludes into it, and I was part of the prelude, to where basically I was dressed up as a doctor or some kind, not doctor, but like a scientist individual, someone who is like basically like super smart, everything like that, and I'm supposed to go in, yeah, I was supposed to run into town and basically like, because before they sent me into town, they had like a radio and a PA system, by the way, for music in the bar, which, you know, they control up at ops. They put an announcement over the thing saying, this is the Archon test system. And for those of you who may not remember before, I mentioned an Archon was scouting in the first night. An Archon is a very scary, monstrous, spider-like thing. It's a spider-like monstrosity, which is very scary. They could not take it down. Our group could not take it down, at least currently. So, yeah, so they sent out the announcements like, hey, this is a test of the Archon, you know, warning system down to the players while I was up at ops, you know, getting prepared and everything like that, as this brainy individual. And so I was told, hey, all right, all you need to do is go back down there into the bar, and make sure they're doing research. Make sure they're trying to figure out stuff to go against the Archon. And while that's happening, I see the other individual, some of the other NPC players who are on the NPC shift getting dressed as an Archon. I'm like, oh shit, this is going down. This is going down. I'm so for it. So I get to go back down there, frantic, like, okay, there was an Archon after me. You guys need to prepare. And good thing was they were already doing the players there were already doing research. They had a group of people who were like putting together a device to try to like use like radios and PA systems to kind of like see if they could potentially harm the Archon in some way with like sound and stuff, using like powerized crystals and everything. You know, they start discussing it and everything like that, and, you know, start working. I, as the NPC, kind of help try to keep them focused of like what they needed. Like, no, that's wrong. But I was like being frantic the whole time, because, you know, character was like, hey, there was a giant monstrosity chasing me. Get me out. You guys need to have this thing done, otherwise we're all dead. So they managed to get the device, and by that time or so, my NPC shift was done, I went back up to ops, got out of character, came back, got back into character, and relaxed. Because, believe it or not, since it is the month of November, they decided the mods and everything decided to basically have a feast, like an IRL feast for the players there. So there was a bunch of turkey and everything like that, a bunch of like home cooked stuff. Everyone took part in it. Everyone was just having a nice, relaxed time. It was the calm before the storm. We all had a great time. We all like ate, talked with each other, got to know each other, grouped by the fire, and then shit hits the fan. And when I mean shit hits the fan, we hear that bell go off. The bell meaning the Archon is here. And so everybody who was present grabbed their weapons. We started to formulate a plan. We quickly started formulating a plan. We're going to, like, our first original plan was like, hey, we're going to get this Archon inside the bar. We're going to make sure it gets in here, and we're going to attempt to... oh, God. Pardon me. We're going to attempt to kind of trap it in one individual area. And the thing about this individual area is we would have some players or anything like that, or one player in particular, not one player, but like a player with a certain skill set would be in that area, basically using some kind of like faith-based or like psychic powers. By the way, there are kind of like psychic individuals in this setting in the setting in DR, so they were using this sort of a thing, like sort of like this sort of field effect, to where you know, allies are fine within the area, enemies they can't really heal in the area, which was a good thing. But we had to like kind of like trap this big old bad thing into this small area, which was asking a lot. But we had like a giant shield wall and stuff like that. In fact, the Grapevine Shard that I mentioned before, Valor showed up to be on our side. To be on the player's side. So I was like, awesome. We got everything. We're gonna get through this fight. We're gonna get through this fight, right? Right? No, it was a lot harder. Because, by the way, I mentioned that one Archon was a pain to take down, and we didn't have the ability to take down when the Archon first scouted, right? When the Archon first scouted on the first night. We couldn't hurt it. It was like impervious to all of our stuff because of a reason. However, tonight, that Saturday night, there were 3 Archons. 3 of them. And they were attacking the bar. They were kind of messing with us and attacking the bar. So we had to hell off. We had to keep the healers protected with the shield wall. We still tried to we still had to get like some Archons into position, or try to, but it was very difficult because there was 3 of them. In fact, when we were all setting up this plan, by the way, some of the stronger players were outside the bar, confronting the Archons. There was one player who attempted to solo a couple of them. I don't remember their name, but they were fighting for a while. And I give props to that individual, but yeah, they totally died. Yeah, the Archons just kind of ate him because he went into bleed out and everything like that. And yeah, no, they got eaten. They straight up died. Um, so on and so forth. And then that's when the Archons like officially started entering the bar. We had various individuals like attempting to fight them. We had you know, we had our shield wall up. Like basically, imagine the bar. I'll try to get you the setting. We had like the fire at one end with one entrance there, and then at the other end of the bar, there were two more entrances, like on opposite sides of each other. And we had like the tables in a U shape. So there was like this sort of like U in the center. You can go on the outside, and that's where we had the fight around. We had like we attempted to try to get those Archons into the center of that U to kind of like get them in. However, we were being way too defensive. Like, I'm gonna be honest, we were being way too defensive and holding a line that was preventing them from the Archons getting in into position. While we held true for a while, eventually one of the mods comes in and starts shouting. When like, you know, a mod shouts, it's like they'll start off with a thing. It's like, all who hear my voice, and that means that something is happening, like an effect is happening, right? Drain 5 mind. Effectively, what was happening is everybody in the bar, like every 2 minutes or so, like IRL time, 2 minutes, was just losing 5 mind, which you need mind in order to do some special combat maneuvers or anything like that, or like do special healing or special abilities. So effectively, everybody was losing 5 mind every couple minutes without even touching the Archons, just being in the very presence of them. So effectively, it was a war of attrition, because what would happen is we would fight these spider things, and they would have this ability that basically allows them to fade out of existence, to be incorporeal, to become ghost-like, and to not be touched by anything and maneuver through almost anything. Like, they can see the world, but we can't touch them, and they can't touch us, but they're allowed to do that. And then, on top of that, they can heal themselves. On top of that, they have a lot of other combat abilities, like being able to knock players back, being able to do a scatter shot, or rend, which effectively does damage to both armor and health at the same time. And effectively, these Archons are going around. We managed to actually down one of them and kill them, right? And then the mod announces, it's like, hey, all who can hear my voice, all Archons raise. And so the Archons get back up. And so we managed to actually permanently kill 2 of them. It's a thing, which left 1 alive. This one, however, tended to be the strongest, but we were just going at it. We had players going down. We had like some characters were dropping into bleed out state, and occasionally, like every 5 minutes, the old mods would say, all characters in bleed out, murder, which means they are instantly dead. They just fall into death. So if we didn't revive a person fast enough, while every character's mind was being drained, while the Archons were able to heal themselves, as long as they, were able to kind of like go in and out of existence and ignore damage, it was rough. It was really rough. And so we had some characters start dying and everything like that. We had like 4 characters go down and be permadead. They were brought like to the medical. I was eventually, our shield wall like kind of faded. And while I was like the kind of guy that was kind of behind the shield wall with my my long reach weapon, eventually the Archon would get past him and start hitting me. I went down a lot. Like I went down a couple times, but I used like injections to keep myself up and stable. People injected me with stuff to keep me up and stable. Used healings on me, kept boosting my armor and everything like that, and a couple of individuals' armors. But it was just going on. This fight had been going on for so long. I think I went down like 7 times or so in the entire fight. But then, we were losing players. I think we like dropped down to like we had like we were at like 7 killed players, which was nearly a third of the entire player base for DR at this chapter. It's a small chapter, mind you, but like we were still fighting, and I was going hard, and eventually like me and Lazarus dropped into bleed out, and we were then dragged off by doctors to get healed, and unfortunately they didn't have the instant like revive thing. They had to take time to actually start healing us, and as we were brought into the corner, we hear all players in bleed out, murder. Basco and Lazarus die in the hands of their doctors. So I had to perish in my first game of DR. However, in DR, death is not the end. And I'll explain more in a minute. So basically, it's like we both perish in the hands of the doctors, of these NPC doctors. And they both like start breaking down. It's like, they were just alive. What happened? And then their bodies are dragged off over into like the body pile. And then after literally like an hour and 45 minutes to like 2 hours of the straight fight with the Archons, it finally ends. I don't know how it ended, but effectively we had a 10 body pileup, and I was among them. And so like everyone was like grieving because like I mentioned Lazarus before. Lazarus was the leader of the minor group that Basco had kind of been put into with the criminal thing, and was also the one that taught how Joab's character how to steal. And so when Lazarus died, their in-character girlfriend, Mary, just went ham on the Archon, just like no fucks given, just dual blading, going in. We heard her scream and just went as ham as possible, and went down into bleed out and died as well from the murder call. It was so fitting, but so sad. So effectively, we were all brought into the murder pile. The town was kind of discussing it. Okay, it's like, what the hell are we gonna do? We had like a bunch of individuals die, sort of a thing. And normally, when an individual passes in DR or like falls dead, um, the grave mind will come up, that fungus from underground will come up and take their body and drag them underground into the grave mind. And if they have a stat called infection, which all players do, it takes one of their infection and brings them back to life. Just with a little piece of them missing, in a sense. It's a whole experience. But effectively, since Quiet Hollow's grave mind was shattered, they had to effectively figure out, okay, what are we going to do with these bodies? And one player had an airship or like some sort of flying vehicle. It's like, okay, we're going to take them over to a neighboring grave mine, and we're going to drop them in and have that grave mine deal with them. That sort of thing. And so it's like, okay, that sort of thing. Everybody that died in the pile was basically given the choice. It's like, hey, you can either go as like a giant group, you can do individuals, that sort of thing. Like individual sort of like grave mind events sort of a thing. And I decided as Basco, I'm like, you know what I want? I would like to do mine in a group, specifically with the man who died next to me, Lazarus, and Mary, because Mary has a deep connection with Lazarus, that sort of thing. So it's like I was in a group of 3 with a grave mind event. So we were brought up to ops. We were basically like told to kind of give like descriptions of our characters and sort of answer these questions to help them kind of build the scene that we were put into. Our people were put into a dark room, and effectively they were put into a dark room, and all of our characters were bounded and chained in some regard. Basco specifically had a hook through him, and he was like held like that. Um, we were all in this dark room, this kind of place. And the one running the scene, he would whisper into each of our ears certain questions uh, like these are supposed to be very deep scenes, and I'm going to kind of go into it. So Lazarus and Mary, they were kind of they were in character, but they were like kind of like pissing off the Archon, basically not Archon, sorry, the Gravemind. They were pissing off the Gravemind, because the person of the scene, the moderator, was like playing as this Gravemind that we were sent to. This like super fungus. Was like they were whispering questions into our ears and trying to get into like our characters' like personal stories, like it's like in this moment I kind of had to do some deep searching for my character Rabasco and everything like that, and try to like really get into some feelings. Like, oh god, like this one was asking me, it's like, why are you weak? Why are you a failure? What is strength? And like just kind of like berating us with these questions, like individual questions, mind you. Like our characters technically couldn't hear the other individual questions, but we could hear all of us talking like out loud to the Gravemind, but none of us could hear what the Gravemind was asking each other. So like I was like, Basco was kind of like getting like emotional, was like trying to remember the teachings of his old mentor, Admiral Tang, what he used to teach and everything like that, and so on and so forth. And then the other two, like I said, Lazarus and Mary, have been literally like kind of pissing off the Archon, not sorry, Gravemind, by like spouting not spouting nonsense, but like shit talking them. And yes, Lovelace, I have been chatting for 3 hours. This is story time. This is the whole LARP event, and I am getting to like, yeah, no, I've been going on for this story time, and I hope people have been enjoying it. Like, I can see that, like, we have a couple people sticking around. Not much chatter, mind you, but that's okay by me. I'm just sitting here talking. All right, where was I? So yeah, they oh, you went to yes, I did go to that thing, yes, but I'm not going to get into that. If you don't want to disturb the birds, I understand. I understand. I'm just being a songbird right now. So effectively, we're in this dark room. Um, I hear the and as like Lazarus, being the big shot guy. Ah, God, sorry, coughing. Okay, Lazarus is like kind of the telling off the mod, the grave mine mod, and basically saying like what what is strength sort of a thing, and he's like, you know what? Lazarus somehow uses his stuff to get out of his restraints, like uses some of his skills to get out of his restraints that were holding him down, and pulls out a form of currency. Is like, this is power. Be all like, hey, 30 seconds agony, start screaming. And so he just fucking starts screaming as like the money he pulled out is fucking burned into him, into this scene, like burned straight into his chest. And then Mary, the quiet one, is just telling this thing to fuck off, telling the grave mind to fuck off, and is just also getting hit with agony for like 10 and 30 seconds apiece, having to scream, having to bite, like basically take all this. Basco is literally like being all mental and everything like that, and like, I don't like this screaming. I don't like. In character, out of character, I think the screaming is fine. I think it sets the scene. But like in character, he's like, I don't like none of this. I hate the situation. I hate that I can't see. I hate that you're hurting my comrades, that sort of thing, and answering me these stupid questions and making him think. But effectively, Basco starts like reciting over like old stuff from his mentor mentor Admiral Tang, and so he starts going over that, but the grapevine keeps pushing on. It's like, you're on the right track, but there's more, there's more, there's more. You need to push. And at some point, both Mary and Lazarus are once again hit with agony, and the grapevine asks, like, what the hell are you gonna do when you get out of here, to Basco? And I'm like, I just straight up tell it, I don't respect whatever you are at all. When I get out of here, I am going to find a way to end you. So I threatened this Gravemine's life. And this being is like acceptable and shoots me out of the scene. And before I go, I asked, like, hey, this hook and chain thing that like basically got basically like pinned down with, can I like be shot out with it? It's like, yeah, sure, that's fine, whatever. So Basco gets shut up out of the ground, out of this mold, out of like the morgue or whatever the undead place is, into a new area, into like another town, with a hook that had been stabbed into him, and so on and so forth. And of course, I should mention, when you go to the grave mind, it takes something away from you. It messes with your mind. It literally messes with a character's mind. So before we're actually sent back to go back to the actual town of Quiet Hollow, we were told, hey, this is your fracture, a mental fracture in which you get something that happens to you, and you have to kind of put it into your character and play with it. Lazarus he got more ego, which he already had a ton of ego, and it's a kind of hilarious. So he had to be the most egotistical person. Keep in mind, these fractures can be cured, mind you, but characters can play with them. Mary's character had an obsession with another character in their past, and I didn't really get much detail in on that. But yeah, she was basically put with an obsession, and Basca was also put with an obsession. The obsession to prove oneself, to prove thyself to those around them. So effectively, we are sent back at the end of the night to go to basically go back to town, and basically we're back from the dead. We all lost an infection. We lost one of our lives. So on and so forth. We didn't learn about the others, of what happened to them, their other Gravemind scenes, or at least as far as I know. But yeah, no, it was quite an experience. Oh yeah, by the way, that hill to walk back down to the actual player area sucks at night. That thing is terrifying out in the middle of the woods where it's pitch black and you hear other things around you, like the rustling bushes. Terrifying. Ah! But effectively, by that point, went into the bar a little bit. Said, "Hey, we're back." And then by that point, a lot of players were tired, all went to bed, so on and so forth. And we get up for the third day, which was Sunday. So Sunday mornings are kind of like a half day sort of thing. Get up, get in the character, that sort of thing. Go into the bar as my character after eating getting little breakfast and everything like that. Basco gets checked out by one of the physicians, a mental doctor. They found out hey, you do have a fracture, that sort of thing, which is something wrong with your brain. I'm out of character. I'm okay, I have a fracture. Do I have to tell you what it is? They're no. Okay. So I play off as Basco as nah, these people don't know better. So I'm keeping my fracture just for character thing for next game, because I want to go to the next game. You have no idea. I want to go to the next game. Because I want to play with this sort of obsession and sort of get some character development going on. But yeah, it confirms that he has a fracture, doesn't believe the doctors, and instead gets looped into another gambling. This one is basically Texas Hold'em. Gets roped into that, and plays Texas Hold'em until the bell goes off, singling the end of game. And so, effectively, what happened after that is everyone kind of got out of character. Everyone pitched in to clean up the area and reorganize everything at the camp, start putting all the props away and whatnot, start tearing everything down. Then yeah, we kind of a non-hypey end to the story. But yeah, no, we had a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun meeting a lot of different people. A lot of different people were traveling all over. I had learned that quite a few of the players, because throughout the game we were hearing like other towns and everything like that. So effectively, what a lot of these players do is they do travel around the country for playing DR and everything like that, different locations and everything like that. And what a part we were a part of was like a subsection of like 3 of them, right? Like kind of like 3 of them were 3 of these chapters are closely knitted together, and they're sort of like designated as kind of like a group that all knows each other, and they all like kind of communicate and everything like that. And a lot of players travel in between them with the same characters, mind you. So it's kind of interesting. But yeah, no, let a lot of interesting individuals, a lot of interesting characters. I love the prop work, especially with some of the other characters which I didn't mention. Didn't play like a huge significant part in what I experienced, but you know, they were still there. You know, had some conversations and whatnot, some interactions, but nothing too big. Went to an after party sort of a thing at a nearby, like basically at the town, like right next to where we were. For all pizza, we all said our goodbyes. It was heartfelt. It was wonderful. A lot of them said we kicked asses as like new players in Bluebirds. Like the fact that like Joab's character was willing to literally commit larceny on their first game. How productive Wrench was with a lot of his like gathering and everything like that. Me for being like brave enough to like, I guess, take on the death of the Archon and fight to my hardest during that fight. Even though, you know, I didn't have much to fight with anyways. But like our small little Bluebird crew has a lot of potential, and they can see that we're kind of like adapting in really well. You know, even in the crew itself, with Wrench and Basco and Joab, like a lot of oh, I just realized my music swapped over. Holy crap, I've been talking for 3 hours. Ah! Oh, it just occurred to me. I didn't realize I could talk this long for just talking about experiences. But effectively, our little crew kind of is going to have kind of like an econ system going. We're going to be able to kind of manage ourselves and so on and so forth. Not a good storyteller, my ass. Listen, I get nervous, Zero. I get completely nervous. I always feel like I'm not good at describing things. So I'm trying my best here. My fucking ass, you coward. I'm sorry. Either way. Yeah, no, I would love to go again, or even go into some of those other games that are around the area when they're able to do so. Bravo. Those words mean a lot. Thank you, my man. I'm glad to also see you around too. It's actually really nice to see you here. This was nice to listen to a vibe with my guy. Okay, yeah, no. I'm glad at least the people who have stuck around, I'm glad y'all are enjoying the vibes. So on and so forth. Cause yeah, no, it's been rather chill. I highly recommend that to any individual out here who's interested in DR, by the way, and in LARPing, give it a try. Like, they're very welcoming, and very helpful to like new players. You just have to look into if there's any of them near you or anything like that. There's quite a few places out there. I was scared going into this last weekend just because of I thought it was going to snowstorm and everything like that with the cold weather. Yeah, that cold weather persisted, by the way, throughout the entire game. That was nutty. Everyone was bundled by a fire heater when they could be. I highly recommend it. It's a very good experience. Also, hi Apple. I don't know how long you've been here, but we got to the end of our story. Now I'm just vibing out. Just vibing out right now. I hope you had a good rest to your stream. I don't know if you're on break or if you're still streaming. I've just literally been here talking. Hey, vibing out? Yeah, vibing out. Got to the end of the story. Of the events, and I will say that I am very willing to do it again. If I get the opportunity, I'm very willing to definitely travel out and do it again, even if it's at the same location. Because that's the glory about DR. You can have your character travel. You can have that same character travel 2 different chapters and be just fine. It's very fun. Met a lot of individuals, a lot of cool people who I would love to see again. Just a bunch of nerds doing what nerds love. And the thing is too, like the variety of age range was very good. Like people around my age, younger individuals, or people that have been doing this for like over a decade or so. It's so good. It's so good. And I never thought that I would be in kind of a scenario like this to where I would be able to do it. But hey, it's definitely something y'all should look into. If you want to experience something different, if you want to just meet a bunch of cool individuals. And when you go into it, I'll tell you this, you're going to be braided with a lot of information. But once you have like that whole information coming in, it kind of settles in very nicely. It's like a lot of it, but it settles. And it just is neat. But what am I going to do now? I've been going for, well, yeah, over 3 hours. I think I don't have any more stories for you. The only thing I have is potential stories. What I mean by potential stories is what I plan on doing next time. Basco will come back. Basco, that Baywalker, will come back. He'll do what he can. He'll get his cooking to best that he could be. I'm definitely coming back in with a new prop. I am going to bring that hook and chain with him, because that is awesome. That they allowed me to take it out in like the grave mine scenario. Well, they didn't allow me to take the prop, mind you, but I literally am gonna have one on my costume for next time. Hook and chain? What? Oh, Apple, you weren't here for the whole thing, were you? Oh, that's right. I get to explain more to you. I get to explain more to you soon. I'll explain more to you soon. Don't worry about it. So I'll have that. I'll have, I know that I want to replace like any sort of medicine bottles or drinking bottles I have with actual hot sauce bottles. Plastic ones, mind you, but ones that would work nonetheless. I know that's what I want to do. And I also want to potentially maybe make my ore a little better, my weapon prop thing a little better, or commission something. I don't know. I shouldn't get off track. I shouldn't stall for long. So, here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna look at our potential people that are online right now. And for those of you who have been listening, I want to thank you all, by the way. You all have been wonderful tonight. And I want to know, what kind of vibe do you want me all to send you to? Like, because I want to try to, like, you know, I want to try to send you all to someone good, someone you can vibe with. Maybe not anyone too crazy. 'Cause yeah, I feel like I'm gonna end the stream. I've told my stories. It's been wonderful having you guys here, just listening. And let's see who we all have. I have a huge list of people, by the way. However, if we want to vibe, all right. I know who I'm sending you to. You're gonna go enjoy some Chrono Cross Spotted. I'm going to give a raid message real quickly. You can use your own emotes for this. Let's see. There is your raid message. I know it's not the best, but hey, I would like to all thank you. All of you individuals who have shown up tonight. You are all wonderful. Thank you for vibing out and chilling out with me. I will be back Wednesday. Listen here, Loveless. I'll get you stronger sauce. Don't worry. One day I'll get you stronger sauce. But yeah, thank you all for joining up. Have yourselves a good day. Good night. I will see you Wednesday. We're back with Okami on Wednesday. And then it's Turkey Day. Alright. I will catch you all next time. Goodbye!